Okay, guys, moving along here. This is page 3 of the packet. There's a little sheet here on special values of exact angles, exact trig values. So we'll go through a couple of these and show you how we get these, especially some of the weird ones, awkward ones, and then we will move on from there. So the first one you'll see here on the page is tangent of theta, and they give you 60 degrees, okay? So this goes back to your unit circle like we talked about. So we've got to remember everything from the unit circle. And there's really only one way to do this to get good at it is to practice. And this sheet is a great practice for that. So tangent of 60 is going to be, tangent of 60 is going to be sine of 60 over the cosine of 60. Or you could just think about this as whatever 60 is, putting the y over the x, okay? So remember from the unit circle, all the values of 60 degrees, okay? So the values of 60 degrees for sine, the sine of 60 degrees is how much? So refer to your unit circle and look at that and tell me what the sine of 60 degrees is. Well, you say 60 sine, and the sine of 60 is square root of 3 over 2. So that's going to be on the top. And then on the bottom, the cosine of 60 is simply going to be 1/2. Because you know that they match, square root of 3 over 2, and 1/2 is going to match, okay? Like we talked about on the unit circle video. So to get this to the top up here, you're just going to simply multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to say square root of 3 over 2 times 2 over 1. The 2's cancel out. So this answer is square root of 3. And basically, guys, that's all you do, okay? Now, some of these you can get straight from the unit circle. So you really don't have to do any work like the sine and cosine ones. You can just look at your unit circle and get those, okay? Now, some of these other ones like tangent, and I think there's a couple of cosecant and stuff on the back, you have to do a little work, okay? So let's go to number 6, tangent of 240, okay? So once again, tangent is sine over cosine. So we're going to find the sine of 240. So you can look at your unit circle and get that. And the sine of 240 is negative square root of 3 over 2 over, well, surely we can guess this. That's going to be 1/2. Well, guess what? This is just like the other problem we just did. You got to multiply by the reciprocal. So this is 2 over 1. 2's cancel out. So this answer is going to be negative square root of 3. Okay? So you got to think about this. This is in quadrant 3. And quadrant 3 is negative positive. And this tends to make sense, since if you put a negative over positive, it's going to be a negative. Okay, so those are a few tangent ones. You can see number 8 is tangent of 150, so that you would just have to get your unit circle measures for 150. And then, oh, wait just a second. Let's go back to that one. These are both negative, okay? You bet, guys, I about missed that one. These are both negative. This is quadrant 3. So this is negative. So this thing is going to be positive square root of 3 over 2. The square root of 3. Positive square root of 3. See, I caught myself there. This is positive square root of 3. That would have been kind of embarrassing to put a video out where I missed one. I guess teachers, when they don't do it for a while, they forget some things as well. So that is the first page of the third activity in the packet, okay? So I'm trying to follow along and make my videos so that it goes along with the packet, okay? So that's the first page of that third activity, and it's gonna be a slight pause here, and then we will go to the next one, Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, guys. The second page of the third activity does get a little more involved. It talks about some bigger angles, some negative angles, and it also talks about some reciprocal measures. Okay, so we'll just do a few here, and then we'll go from there. The first one I see is number 14 there. It says the cosecant of 2 pi over 3. Well, if you remember from the other video, cosecant is 1 over sine. Okay, so what you can do is you can find this value of sine of 2 pi over 3 and just put 1 over it. Okay, so what I'm saying is this is the same as 1 over the sine of 2 pi over 3. So I'm going to do this one a little differently. I'm going to take it to degrees and then go through the degree measures and show you how we get this answer. Okay, so what is 2 pi over 3? Well, 2 times pi, which is 2 times 180, is 2 times 180 is 360. 360 divided by 3 is 120. Hopefully that's right. So this is really 1 over the sine of 120. So now you can go to your unit circle and get the value of the sine of 120. So the value of the sine of 120 is how much? Well, that's square root of 3 over 2. So this is 1 over square root of 3 over 2. And then I'm stuck with a radical in the bottom. So this, when you get a reciprocal function like cosecant or secant or anything like that, for that matter, there's going to be some work to do. Okay, so I'm just going to have to take this to the top and multiply by the reciprocal. So 1 times 2 over the square root of 3. Well, that's 2 over the square root of 3. Which is unacceptable. And that's unacceptable because you got a radical in the bottom. So we want to multiply by square root of 3 over square root of 3. And I'm sorry I'm writing so big. That's just a pen I chose on this program. On the bottom, square root of 3 times square root of 3 is 3. So we got 2 square root of 3 over 3. So that is the answer to number 14. So the exact value for the cosecant of 2 pi over 3 would be 2 square root of 3 over 3. Okay. All right. Moving along here. Another one I see we might want to do is number 13. I know I'm kind of going backwards here, but number 13 is the cotangent of 7 pi over 4. Okay. So I think zooming in may help on the future videos. I may try to zoom in there instead of just keeping it so you can see the whole thing. All right. So cotangent is 1 over tangent, okay? Or we can think about it another way. Sine over cosine. Let me see if I can write this here. Tangent is sine over cosine. So cotangent would be cosine over sine. So let's do it this way. Let's see if we can get it that way. Let's use the second method there. Let's think of it as cosine over sine. Okay. So I've got the cotangent of 7 pi over 4. Well, how much is 7 pi over 4? Well, if you remember from your unit circle, 7 pi over 4 is going to be 315. So we're really finding the value at 315. Okay. So we're going to say the cosine of 315 degrees over the sine of 315 degrees. Okay. So 315 degrees, the cosine is square root of 2 over 2. And also, remember, once you have the multiple of 45, both of those values are square root of 2 over 2. Well, one of them's got to be positive, and one of them's got to be negative because we're in quadrant 4. So that makes the whole thing negative, okay? So really, instead of knowing which one's positive, which one negative, you just need to know that the whole value is going to be negative, okay? So I've got square root of 2 over 2 over, move up just a little bit here, over square root of 2 over 2. So I know that this is going to work out to be negative. So, well, square root of 2 over 2 over square root of 2 over 2, that's the same thing over the same thing. So that value is just negative 1. And that's it. So this answer is negative 1. But what they're wanting you to do is they're wanting you to be able to go through all of those steps to get that. Okay? All right, we'll do one more. And we'll leave it at that. And then hopefully this will help you here. Actually, we'll do 2 more. Okay. Let's do another. Well, all the ones that are tangent are on the unit circle, so you shouldn't have any trouble there. Let's do one that's cosecant, or they may have a secant one on here. Yeah, they got a secant one way down at the bottom. All right, let's do a negative rotation. Okay, now, so let's just do 22. So let's look at 22. So all of these degrees have been positive so far. So what that means is if I've got my unit circle, or if I'm rotating, that means I'm rotating like this. This gives us a positive rotation. Now, if we rotate the other way, like this is going to give us a negative rotation. Okay, so let's just look at this one right here. Well, there's a couple ways you could do this. You could think about this in a bunch of different ways. If you remember coterminal angles from class, you could get a coterminal angle from this. And then we'll try to do this thinking about rotations, okay? So if I'm on the unit circle and I'm standing here, right here, and I rotate negative 1 rotation, well, that's negative 360, okay? And then if I rotate another rotation, 2 rotations, well, 2 times 360 is 720. So that's too much. I only want to go to negative 630, okay? So I'm at 720. So 720, what's the difference between 720 and 630? Well, 90, I think. Let me make sure that's correct. Like I said in the other video, teachers forget stuff too, if y'all don't know that. Yes, it's 90. So if I rotate, I'm really just going to be right here at this 90-degree mark, okay? So like this. You'd say 1 rotation, 360. And I'd go right there. That would be it's negative 630, okay? So this is the same thing as the cosine of 90 degrees, okay? Now, what does that mean? Well, you could have done this another way. Coterminal angles, okay? If I'm starting at negative 630, okay? So if I'm at negative 630, how do I find a coterminal angle? Well, if you remember from class, or remember how we did this, you just add 360. So if I add 360, that's negative 720. Add another 360, that's 90. So you could have added 360 twice and then got cosine of 90 and just go to the unit circle and find that value. Okay, so that was the negative angle mark. And I think that was the only other one on this sheet that you may have trouble with. Now, some of these do get a little involved, like a secant of 945. Remember, use your coterminal angles. Subtract 360 until you can get somewhere that you can manage it. Same thing for number 23. Subtract 360 so you can get back to your unit circle. Okay. These ones that are really big in radians, like 21, 24, I would change those to degrees probably. And then I would use my coterminal angle. So let me show you how I would do that one. So 21 says the tangent of negative 13 pi over 6. Okay, so I'm just going to change this to degrees. So 13 times 180 divided by 6. Okay, so 13 times 180 is how much? Let's see. 13 times 180 is 2,340 divided by 6 is 390. Okay, so 390, well, that's not on my unit circle. But remember, you can subtract 360. Or you can think about this, well, what is this? What is 390? Well, it's really one rotation plus a little bit more. So this is really the tangent of 30 degrees. That's all that is. Guys, they're just wanting you to make sure that you know radians to degrees and degrees to radians, and then go back and forth and use those accordingly, for each value. So that's the third activity there in the packet. And like I said, that should be fairly easy there. Just make sure that you're on the correct angle mark, okay? And make sure that you're using your unit circle to get these values, because these are all exact values, meaning they want you to come up with like square root of 3 over 2 or square root of 3 or something like that. It's not going to be a decimal. They don't want you to just type this in the calculator and come up with a decimal value. They're wanting you to come up with a true exact value, okay?